going on, everybody? It's Geoff Grammer with the ABQJournal, joined by Sean Reider, and it's been a minute since we've done one of these, so let's get rolling. We're going to talk some Lobo football, primarily, probably, and anything you got on Lobo basketball, we can do that as well. So I'm going to start off with Sean. Let's talk some Lobo football first. Let's start with yesterday. I was traveling back from New York, so we didn't do a show after. Was there a presser yesterday like normal, or how are we handling this last bye week?
There was, in fact, a presser. Bronco has not outright complained, but kind of noted the practice of doing bye week press conferences isn't really something that he loves. So he got a little treat from UNM yesterday, a 16-ounce tub of Haagen-Dazs Rocky Road for answering our questions for a good 20 minutes there. But yes, there was a press conference. It's actually a pretty good one. In a lot of respects, the main kind of story yesterday, in a lot of respects for the press conference and the program overall, was Devin Dampier, Associated Press National Player of the Year, Mountain West of the Week, Mountain West Offensive Player of the Week as well. He just won I think he just won the Davey O'Brien kind of grade 8 thing today too. Just a lot of accolades after the performance that he had, 192 rushing yards, 134 in the second half, 134, 143 to kind of lead, to lead New Mexico past a ranked Washington State team, one of the most significant wins in recent program memory and maybe in all of program history. I posted the clip, and that's been getting a lot of traction too. But Bronco basically said outright that he doesn't think that there's any player in college football doing more for their team than what Devin Dampier is doing right now for New Mexico. And at this point, it's a hard argument. It's hard to argue against that. I know that you were getting into it a little bit today on Twitter.
Yeah, I've been saying this all season, right? Like I've kind of I probably jumped the gun a little bit when I first started saying it, but it proved to be true. And what do you do in sports? In sports debate and sports hot take.
Never wrong, just early. Never wrong, just early.
Yeah, never wrong, just early, right? Like I've been saying it all year. I do think he is the best quarterback in the Mountain West, and the way he's been playing of late. He's the reason a Mountain West team that was picked second to last, only because Nevada came into the season with even more of a train wreck kind of narrative around it. Like he's the reason that a team that started 0-4 is still playing for a bowl game and just beat a ranked opponent. And anybody that doesn't quite understand the culture around Lobo football and it's still there, frankly. By the way, we can get into this in a little bit. I won't lead the show with this too much, but I'll hint at it. 14,000 at the Washington State game was pretty pathetic. I don't know what people want. If not this, if not playing a ranked opponent, beating a ranked opponent, a guy who I and others are thinking might be the best quarterback in the league, and you're still playing for a bowl game late in the season on a senior night and your final home game of the year, and you're getting 14,000 in your stadium, it's pretty sad. I don't know when the buy-in on the ticket front is going to happen, because the buy-in on the fans, like the ones who do follow this, are saying this is one of the best seasons they've ever watched, right? Like these diehard Lobo fans who have seen better seasons and better teams overall have never seen what's going on with this team. And I just don't quite understand why we're not at 16, 17, 18,000, which would still be bad numbers, frankly, for a bowl team. But we are where we are. Devin has done pretty good this week, though, hasn't he?
Yes, he has. And I do want to track back to this. This is something that we have talked about on the show, you and me, and I have kind of balked at the assessment of him as the best quarterback in the league.
Right.
I've said in the past that I think he's the most dynamic quarterback in the league, and I think that's a more fair assessment. But I have pointed to a lot of the turnovers, and not just interceptions, but the turnovers and all that as reasons why I've been kind of hesitant. I think that is a big part of the game.
It absolutely is.
I'm putting my hat in. I am now willing to say, I thought about it for a long time yesterday in the wake of the press conference, thought about it this morning too. I think he is the best quarterback in the league, and I will ride with that. I don't know if I'll fight Boise fans on Twitter like you are,
right.
But the deal there. It's 332 332.5 yards of total offense per game. That's first in the Mountain West, it's sixth nationally. Over 1,000 rushing yards, 1,065 rushing yards. It's second in the Mountain West behind only Genty, which is crazy. 2,592 passing yards is first in the Mountain West. That's 1 yard ahead of Braden Shager, who plays in a significantly less balanced offense. He's PFF's eighth highest rated quarterback with a grade of 90 overall. But do you want to guess the one quarterback that is rated higher via PFF in that top 7?
Who is it? Oh,
Brendan Lewis.
Okay.
Which that's kind of a good little tilt there. I think Lewis is good, but I don't think he's a top 10 quarterback in the country. Right. 12 touchdowns, which is it's tied for Lewis for 7th in the league. 12 interceptions is the second worst mark in the league behind Shager. Again, significantly less balanced offense. And he is 10th in the league in QBR, 122.65. Do you want to guess who leads the league in QBR?
I would say it's a Boise State quarterback.
No, he is second in QBR.
QBR has to be I don't know. Who is it?
Haj Malik Williams.
Okay.
And he has 271 scramble yards, which is 14th in the country. They just went up against John Mateer, who entering Saturday was leading the country. I believe he was leading the country in scramble yards. If not scramble yards, it was yards after contact. But kind of getting thrown off. I do think he is the best right now. It's just hard to argue against. He just has his effect on games. I mean, and this team, as we've seen, that I don't think any other quarterback in the league does. And it's been pretty remarkable to see it play out. Bronco kind of talked about the idea of when you are an NFL team and you're kind of scouting, players, not just quarterbacks, but you kind of scouts will look at signature moments, even though there's a whole body of work and consistency and all that. And he kind of talked about it like it was like a silly thing to do. I think in this sense, it's not the silliest thing for Devin because, I mean, he now has that kind of signature moment, that signature win, right? That 1 yard, got the lead blocker in there and just run right into the end zone, put your team up with 21 seconds left to beat a ranked team. Yeah, that is kind of it's an elite signature moment to have. And it's really brought on this pretty high level of recognition at this point.
I will say, too, we were talking about some of the awards he has got this week. I did throw the tweet up there from the Mountain West. Just to be clear, he this week was named the Associated Press National Player of the Week, the Davey O'Brien National Quarterback of the Week, the Davey O'Brien Grade 8 Manning Award Star of the Week, and the Scooters Coffee Frisco Bowl Offensive Player of the Week. I didn't know that was a thing, but I now know, and now I know.
I also I think you feel similarly too. I mean, Associated Press National Player of the Week, that's a big deal. I don't even know if that's ever happened for UNM football in the past. That's pretty insane. And he beat out Lenore Sellers to do that, and Sellers is an amazing player. I am not bashing the Scooters Coffee Frisco Bowl, but that one doesn't resonate with me just as much as Associated Press National Player of the Week. That's kind of insane. That he got that. So
you got 5 bullet points up here on this tweet, and it's sort of like which one doesn't really, which one's not like the others. I mean, AP, Davey O'Brien, Manning Award, Davey O'Brien Grade 8.
It's not quite putting up big game boomers, number 1 quarterback of the week or something like that, but it's a little less down for me.
All right, we do have some comments in here that I'm going to start throwing in here. And to your point earlier, I was kind of going at it a little bit earlier because I said
going at it.
And I was a little surprised that not that it got pushed back. I thought people might have an opinion, but the first 2 responses I got fairly quick to me saying Dampier is not only the best quarterback, but he's also, receiving some national awards, which I didn't give him. I mean, other people are thinking he's pretty good too.
Classic Lobo homer telling the Associated Press to give out
right,
awards to Lobo.
Right. I'm throwing my weight around, and there's plenty of weight to throw around, so I got them to give him these national awards. Yes, Geoff is a Lobo homer for football. I've been accused of that for years and years. Look, the first response is, oh, is he? And then they use the QBR stat. okay, there's one stat. Here's 5 others that Devin's like one of the best in the league at. Some of them not just quarterback stats, right? Somebody else said he can't be the best quarterback if his team doesn't have a winning record. What are we talking about, man? Like in college football, yeah, he can. If you put the best quarterback on a team that's had a defense that has struggled, that started 0-4 for whatever reason, that is putting up the offensive numbers and doing everything he can possibly do. This isn't quite like the NFL that has fallen in love with how many Super Bowl rings does a quarterback have, how many wins does a quarterback have. There are so many things in place that can stop a quarterback from being great. And
are wins a quarterback stat? Are they a quarterback?
Wins a quarterback stat is sort of what you were asking earlier when I was throwing out the Devin's the best quarterback in the league and they were 0-4, and it's a fair question. I get the debate, but no, I don't think wins need to be a quarterback stat when you're doing what he's doing. When you're as important to, like, they wouldn't have a chance without him, right? I think you can only do so much sometimes. So anyway,
I have one update. I just got a text. Don Perkins was the AP Player of the Week for an Air Force game in 1959.
Okay.
That is the last known instance, which is nuts.
It's got to be the only other instance, right? It's got to be.
Shout out Don Perkins. But yeah, that is a
shout out Don Perkins.
I got to shout out Don Perkins.
All right.
Yes.
So some of the comments of Jimmy H on YouTube. Just I love this team. I did make a comment. Let's see. I did make a comment about the 14,000 in the stands, and a couple of follow-ups to that. Look, I was in New York. I did not watch the game. I was at UFC 309. I was doing some other stuff. But I saw the final numbers, and I got to rewatch some of it later. Rich Green saying some people I talked to said it was cold. You speak to this, Sean. Not freezing that night. Is that true? Also, was it scheduled at night due to TV? Historically, Lobo fan doesn't like cold November games. He's not wrong there. Cold November games for Lobo fan haven't usually been well attended. I would point out that since 2016, though, they haven't had a good season since 2016.
Yeah.
So by November, the season's often done. So I don't know if it's the cold, which you're not wrong about, but I don't know how much of it's the cold and how much of it's been that the team was just already out of it. Real quick, too, we got another one here. Bet you $5. I think on X is saying, I think the 2 blown fourth quarter leads hurt this team's fan buy-in. And I think that's right, too. But it is still pretty frustrating that the fans haven't quite bought in yet. Doug Stoll was replying to the weather comment. It was a little chilly, but not bad. My 6-year-old did fine. So, I am still going to say what I said about the fans. I won't tell anybody how to fan, but I won't stop myself from questioning what the heck is going on if 14,000 people are showing up for this team on their last home game of the season, playing a ranked opponent, still playing for bowl eligibility, and having an exciting brand of offense, which I thought were all the things people wanted.
I'll start with bet you $5's point. Yeah, 100%. I don't think the Montana State game kind of killed any momentum or fan buy-in. I think I do think that if anything, I think that helped get the ball rolling. That took a while to get that thought out. Excuse me. And that I know that hurt fans, but I think it was a hurt that hadn't really been felt in a long time, in particular with Lobo football. The Wyoming game, yeah, that absolutely could have been a killer. And honestly, if they go lose to Hawaii, that's definitely going to get kind of thrown out there. Although I did make this point on the last live show we did. I think even if they lost to Hawaii and they finish 5-7, they don't make a bowl, but you have this win over Washington State in your back pocket, I think there's still going to be a sense of momentum and a sense that the program is definitely going in the right direction. And I think that'll help buy in too. But yes, that's 100% right. Bet you $5 that Wyoming game. I think the sting of it maybe gets taken a little bit off because of the fact that they beat Washington State and are one win out now from making a bowl game. But yeah, it's definitely still there. Look, I didn't think it was that cold. And I also sat in a press box all night.
Up in the press box?
I sat in a press box all night, but I did go down and I know it's different, right? Exposure. You're out there in the elements longer. I didn't think it was that cold even when I was out there, on the field. When I ran down and jacked my foot up running down the stands to get into the field storming so I could write about that a little bit. If you saw somebody doing that at the end of the game, that was me, unfortunately. And I'm
all for field storms. I'm fine with it. I'm not going to beat the dead horse. But when you have
no way you have an issue with this field storming. No way.
You have 14,000 people in the stands.
Wow.
The field storming looks like it does. No, I don't have a problem with it. Go for it.
Okay. I
but
thought
it looked the way it did because
field storming here. I was like, wait a minute.
No. I'm all for it. I just wish there were more people in the stands to have actually partaken in the field storming, so it didn't look like basically 100 people out there celebrating.
It
was like equal parts team and equal parts fans, and it is what it is. It was fun. It was exciting, and for the people there, awesome.
Yeah, no, and Bronco even said, like, that's a moment of a lifetime for a lot of people in the stands and a lot of people that made it down to the field. I didn't think it was that cold. I'm also from Michigan, and like that's not that big of a deal to me.
I'm from Michigan. Those cold weather New Mexicans can't handle a little breeze.
But yeah, I think that is interesting. I think maybe we do need to try and maybe I need to try and do like kind of a fan survey, like of, is it just overall, like, apathy towards the program? Is it the kick time? Is it the weather? I will say one thing. I did note in the notebook I wrote after the game too. They did see an increase in average attendance this year without a New Mexico State game. And if you take out the New Mexico State game last year, so you'd have comparing 5 games to 5 games. They did, see like a pretty all right increase in average attendance. I don't think they got down to 12,000, which was kind of the low point for last year. But yeah, and
along those lines, and I'm going to spin something forward real quick. Eric Markham points out Lobo football's fun again. I love this team too. Isaiah's asking when we're going to get our colleague Matthew.
Yeah, you want me to get him in here? He's literally right outside. Isaiah, you want him right now?
Get him in right now.
Hey, give me a second.
We got Isaiah's also commenting, I don't think Dampier will be with the team next year. You might be right. We just don't know really. As far as AP Player of the Week goes for New Mexico Lobo, first one in 65 years. That is awesome. And
you're not doing the whole show. You're just popping in for a second. You're not.
We got the cameo. Where are we at here? There we go.
That's my brother-in-law.
I was gonna say, is this a brother?
Yes.
Okay, so it's a brother-in-law.
Wait,
right.
we're gonna do something here. Why did you not go to the Lobo football game on Saturday?
Him included, we were watching the UFC fights.
Okay.
Yeah.
There we go.
And real quick, Geoff, before I go, Matt Ryson was trying to have me look for you in the crowd to take a photo for Twitter. Totally forgot to do that. I might have had one too many beers, but it was a thought in my head and it quickly left. So
somebody found me though. There was a Geoff Grammer picture. So then I had a cousin of mine sent me a picture. She just took a screenshot of the video during the co-main event and said, "Is that you at the UFC fight?" She had no idea I was there. And I was like, "Yeah, that's me." And it was kind of in the background of Chandler getting punched or something like that by Oliver. So, no, it was awesome. I'll tell you guys this, a little side note, just since it came up, but we're sitting on the floor for the UFC fight in Madison Square Garden, right? So we're kind of looking up a little bit to the octagon. And that the spinning leg kick that John Jones did to finish off and really retire Stipe Miocic, where we were sitting, it looked like it hit low, and the sound, I can still hear the sound in my head right now. It wasn't just like a thump; it was like a thump against something really hard, and we all thought like it popped his hip out. We thought it was his bone breaking, and from our angle, it looked like it hit lower than it did. Got a little kid walking back behind me. You guys aren't seeing things. Well, you are seeing things. It's a kid. Anyway, the sound, like we all thought he just kicked his hip out because then Stipe, just sort of the way he fell. We saw the replay. We know it's in the ribs now, but like from our angle, we all thought Jones had just kicked his hip out of place. And it was for that size of an arena with that many people screaming to hear the kick the way we heard it. Oh, it's kind of gross.
Oh yeah, I believe it. No, I on replay, yesterday and on Sunday watching that knockout, it's hard to hear the audio for sure. So.
Yeah, it's that was such a surreal night too. I mean, obviously I'm not gonna anybody who wants to chit chat about politics, I'm not gonna do it, but there was a sideshow to UFC 309 on Saturday, and it was Donald Trump showing up with pretty much his whole cabinet. Mostly, not entirely, but mostly the crowd was going pretty wild, chanting USA, and a lot of the fighters were obviously there in support of him as well. And it certainly made for a really unique night in a lot of ways. And even Kid Rock showing up to the post-fight press conference, sitting there eating popcorn and drinking beer and smoking in the press room while Dana White's talking was made for as surreal a night as could be. And then the next morning, I don't get back to my hotel till 4:30 a.m. and I had to be back at the arena by 10 a.m. For the Lobo basketball game. And when I get there, I'm sitting next to John Rothstein, the CBS sports guy, who I'm sitting there complaining about how tired I am. And I told him I was at UFC. I didn't get home till 4:30. Didn't get to sleep till a little after 5. So I'm tired, man. I didn't get much sleep. He said, we sleep in May.
Hey, before I get out of your hair, I did watch The Last Drive. The household. It's like the Cowboys won the Super Bowl. Obviously,
you had it live, or
we had it live.
You had it live, okay?
On my cuñado's phone, we had The Last Drive. We saw that. It was, the best thing I've seen so far this year in football. So, real exciting stuff.
It was awesome.
Matt, thanks for joining ABQJournal Sports Live.
Thank you, sir. So there we are. There's some quick little weekend updates, but let's talk a little. I want to spin this ahead just a little bit.
Yeah.
Somebody's asking already, is Devin coming back next year? Again, we'll stick with the same thing. We don't know. We have no idea how to guess any of this stuff. But I will say this about going into next year. If attendance, and sometimes it is, based on 1 year dictates really the attendance for the next year, it certainly does for season tickets, then there should be some momentum going into next year. You also have New Mexico State.
Are you saying if attendance dictates attendance or performance?
No, success. Success.
Yeah, okay.
If success dictates the following year's attendance, which it often has, I do think there's momentum going into next year.
Mm-hmm.
You would hope that if this team happens to win at Hawaii, which we'll talk about in a minute, and you would hope that if they happen to get into a bowl game, win or lose, but especially if they win, you would hope that would be momentum, right? Everything that counts is momentum. But the big question has to do with, Devin. Is Devin going to come back? We have no idea. We certainly have no idea whether or not he's going to come back. But, man, I just think that even without Devin Dampier next year, there's no reason that if football can survive here, especially after the Pac-12 situation where UNM was left out in the cold because it was considered dead weight in football, if this isn't going to turn things around, I don't know what will. We're kind of back to that same sort of thing. Is like, I don't know what it's going to take to make football work here if this isn't what it's going to take. One comment here from Melvin on YouTube. Hopefully he stays and we'll get a couple defensive linemen that can put pressure on opposing quarterbacks. Will be lots better next year if that does happen. I
Melvin, they are going to need defensive linemen anyways, because really the top end of their rotation. Garrison Walker, Devin Brand Epps, Bryce Santana, those interior defensive line guys, those guys are all gone. So they're kind of I actually took this note out of my notebook because it just seemed like a kind of oddly placed note. It's a huge win and all that, and I wrote like a couple graphs about like how UNM needs to kind of look ahead to what are they going to do in the defensive line, at the interior defensive line. How are they going to they don't have to rebuild the edges position in a sense, like they kind of had to. They didn't really even have to last year in particular. But, they're going to have to take a hard look at that in linebackers too, because they're going to lose Demetri Johnson. They will have Kapai coming back. They will have Jaden Wilson coming back too. But they're going to need some more depth there as well. Because really, I don't know if they're going to – I don't think they're going to want to ride two guys in the middle the way that they have all year, essentially, the way they have this year. They're definitely going to need him, but Melvin 100%. They need guys that can get pressure on the quarterbacks because they've been winning without it in a lot of ways, and they have been able to kind of dial it up a little bit more, but it hasn't been consistent, and it's really hurt them in games this year. Isaiah Ayala, I hope he stays as well, but the season he's having and the numbers he's putting up, I think he'll be an ACC, SEC school next year. I could be wrong. I don't know. It's, Jake Dickert, who's the Washington State head coach. I mean, he kind of compared Dampier to John Mateer, the Washington State quarterback. Now, Mateer's 6'1", but Mateer, he was a Central Arkansas commit, which is an all right FCS program, but it's not D1 or anything like that. Before their staff kind of took a really hard look at him and was like, why does this guy not have any D1 offers? Like, we need to get him here. And Dicker kind of compared those situations. He's like, I think his height has kind of held him back from getting looks. He's absolutely electric. And the things that he can do, and a lot of this is due to like you don't have a good you're not going to have a good quarterback run game unless you have a good blocking front. Like, that's just that is what it is at the end of the day. I think you saw if you watch the Eagles Commanders game last Thursday or whatever, they were trying to work quarterback draw, and that front was just not blocking well enough for that to even remotely happen. So the front's a big part there, but when Devin does have the ball in his hands and he is running, I mean, he's a wizard out there. Like, it is, I will go out here right now and say that I do think he is probably the best running quarterback in the country. And that's just a remarkable skill set to have. But I don't know for sure. I mean, once the season is over, I will try and get that story done for you guys as quickly as possible. And I don't know how quick that'll be in terms of talking to guys who want to stay and all that. I was able to talk to Devin after last season, and he said it was before Bronco was even hired. And he said he was willing to give the new head coach a shot, and he did. And now he's the Associated Press National Player of the Week. So,
and along those lines, I'm going to upset some Lobo fans watching here by bringing this name into the discussion. But Diego Pavia transferred to Vanderbilt, right? And it worked out for him, right? He is a SEC quarterback now. He's had everything kind of laid out in front of him, and it worked really well. The huge difference, though, is he went from a coaching staff that went to Vanderbilt, and so he left New Mexico State to go to basically the same coaching staff and the same offensive coordinator. This isn't just go find a similar offensive scheme or anything like that.
There's not a lot of similar schemes, if we're being honest.
Right?
There's not. Yeah.
So flourishing and knowing you get six figures by staying here, and he will, by the way, he will get several $100,000 to stay at New Mexico if he so desires, in NIL money. If he stays, he will get paid well, and he will be in an offense and a system and a coach with the coaching staff that he is on board with, that is catered a lot to him, and would do so again next year and add pieces around him. So everything he's succeeding with right now, he can, in his mind, this is a best case scenario I'm laying out here, but he can then envision, okay, we're going to do that with this piece being a little better or that piece being a little better. The defense maybe not requiring us to be as risky and as having to the high risk, high reward offense. Sometimes you may think that's what quarterback would love to be playing in, but that's part of why he has so many interceptions too, is he does have to be a little riskier sometimes than he may want to be. So look, there's a lot of good reasons for him to stay. Money is the reason he doesn't need to stay, or one of the primary reasons he might not stay. And better competition's also there too. But he actually will get compensated pretty handsomely by staying at UNM as well. So I wouldn't say it's out of the realm of possibility that he could stay at New Mexico.
I think he's doing fine right now also in terms of compensation. That's the kind of impression that I've gotten as well too. I think the money is a huge part of it too. But it is kind of, I don't want to compare these two situations, but I want to compare the idea. It is just kind of the allure of playing on a bigger stage, right? JT Toppin, in a sense, you are playing on a bigger stage to a certain degree. In probably the best power basketball conference. Can we say the Big 12 is right now?
I believe so. Yeah,
I think that's probably fair to say. And I don't know. And I've talked to Devin a lot. I've talked to Devin weekly for a long time now, and talked to him the very first day he practiced at UNM and all that too. And even with all that in mind, I couldn't tell you 100%. I wouldn't feel comfortable saying, oh, he's going to stay or oh, he's going to go. I think things just have to play out. But, certainly I think he's seen what he can do in this offense and how this offense is kind of catered to his strengths and how he can thrive with that. And it's like the point you made. I mean, it's like if they get better at a couple positions, I mean, if they get, I posted the graphic today, retweeted, I should say. I mean, Devin Dampier has seen the most receiver drops of any quarterback in the country. That's pretty alarming in a sense too. He could have a couple hundred more passing yards if those weren't in play. So yeah, that's kind of a wind it up on that note.
Let me scroll through a few of these comments that I've been falling behind on just because they've been a couple other things. I think, got Jimmy H. This is from earlier, so I'm not even entirely sure what this is. This is the crowd.
Probably I think it's the crowd. Yeah.
Lobo fan is Goldilocks. We got another one here. Adrian did bring this up last week, right? We kind of asked, like, where would this rank if they happen to beat Washington State, which I said they wouldn't beat Washington State. I said they won't be going to a bowl game. We'll see. Got one more game left to see how wrong I can possibly be about this team. Although I did say they were going to win more than their win total. I've kind of been on board with them, but I never thought they'd get to a bowl game. Never thought they'd be.
We were on board, but we were like we were like, they're going to win 3 games. They're going to hit the over.
Yeah. So Adam's pointing out, y'all asked the question last time, and I said it would be a top 3 game in his life for sure if they happen to beat Washington State. Experience it in person, I can now say this was the best Lobo win of my life.
Adam, I'm happy you got to have that experience. That's cool.
And Lucas Pierman, our sports editor, touched on this a little bit in Pierman's power rankings as well. Had Lobo basketball won at St. John's on Sunday morning, would this have been the best basketball or best sports weekend for Albuquerque in history? I still am not going to put it to the ranks of Holly Holmes' huge upset of Ronda Rousey the same night that the Lobos went on the road and beat Boise State. But yeah, this certainly would have been in that conversation of the best, like which ones are the best, right? I do think that between John Jones winning a UFC title and just sort of cementing even more cementing of his role or his place as the best pound for pound fighter of all time in UFC history, with what he did Saturday night, which followed what UNM did, which is just so improbable and fun to watch. This was one of the best nights. I'm not going to go as far as to say the best, but it was certainly up there. More on Devin. I hope he stays as well. But
we got this one.
Devin, we got that one earlier.
No offense, Isaiah.
Sean is agreeing with Sean.
We love to see that, and he spells his name correctly too, which I like as well.
I don't quite. He said later he corrected the who there to YO.
This was talking about how the Wyoming game, like the sting of the Wyoming game, has been covered up a little bit, right? Because that was the last home game. They come out the next home game and beat a ranked team, and they're right back in bowl contention.
But that might have hurt the fans a little bit from coming out too. Some might have gone out to Wyoming and saw that.
Exactly.
I think excuses are lame. There are always excuses for why people don't go. For some reason, I don't think people are willing just to admit, I don't really care for going. I'll admit it right here. I'm a sports guy. I make a living off of college athletics. I am not the biggest fan of live college athletics. I love being there working. I think I prefer college athletics from the television. I really do. So
college football
like that.
Yeah. College football in particular is built for television. I mean, it is a sublime television experience. And I want to add this too. This attendance stuff, I know it's been an issue. It's been a more heightened issue with UNM because of the program, the sense of program apathy in the past and all that too. Fans arguing about attendance and all that too, that is every single school. That is every college football program anywhere. They do it at Alabama. They do it at Michigan State. They do it at Michigan. It happens pretty much everywhere. So it's not a very unique thing at all.
Greg's pointing out on YouTube that when we were talking about the field rush, that he saw a YouTube video that called it a gathering on the field. I think that's pretty accurate. Adam, I'm on board with you for the most part. Agreed that anyone who still has excuses, we're never going to go and support anyway. I agree almost 100% with you, but I do think that there are some people out there still that will go. I just don't know what it's going to take, right? Like next year, maybe they'll decide to go. Maybe they need their their friend group, their little circle to all be on board, and they're not. I don't know what it is, but like I really don't think Albuquerque, New Mexico, is void of college football fans when the rest of the country is just eating it up every Saturday afternoon. I think there's still way more of a market for willing, paying customers to watch college football in Albuquerque and central and northern New Mexico than they're showing right now. So, Rob, 100%, because I let this go for so long. I have no idea what this is about, but I'm going to assume it's something I said. So thanks for agreeing with me. 100%. On YouTube, Melvin says, I think UNM does a horrible job of marketing football. I've pointed out some marketing issues I've had in the past with UNM athletics. I don't know entirely what you want, like not what you specifically, Melvin, but like what people want in terms of marketing. Sometimes people say more radio ads. Sometimes people say more TV ads, more billboards, more social media. They've tried an awful lot of that. They've tried discounted tickets. I won't say too many discounted tickets, by the way, because even when they discount the tickets, the UNM's ticket prices are I'm not comparing them to an NFL game, but like they could be cheaper for one of the poor states in the country. I'll leave it at that. I'm not saying it's gonna make you go broke. It is still a pretty good bargain, but it is tough to take a family. If you have a husband, a wife, and 2 kids, and you go to a Lobo sporting event, you're going to be spending an awful lot of money that a lot of people in New Mexico probably can't afford to do on a regular basis. So there is still some reality to that.
In fairness, too, I will also say, there has not, since the end of the Davey era, and not even the end of the Davey era, like 2016. So we're going on like 10 years. There has not been a lot to like market, really.
Right.
There just hasn't. Just really, that is kind of the hard facts of it. And I have seen some fans, not all fans, but some fans, and when they have tried to kind of push things that they've done, they said like, well, the team sucks anyway, so who cares? I think it does really. I mean, I think Melvin, I do think you have a valid point with the idea of like, you could certainly be better marketing, but the performance just matters so much. It truly does.
And I think a combination of them succeeding this year on the field and a good marketing attack all off season. And frankly, this includes spring ball. Let's not invite everyone to spring ball and tell them they're not allowed to take pictures. Let's not do stuff like that, UNM. Sean is pointing out most Lobo football I've watched since the Rocky days. I think there's a lot of people on board with that. I don't know how many are going out to the games per se, but I think a lot more people are following. Sean can attest to this without breaking down the numbers here for you guys. I can tell you that more people are reading Lobo football content. And only part of it's because of the brilliant writing of Sean Reider.
Only part of it.
It's just a part of it. The other part of it is that Lobo football is interesting. They're putting up numbers on offense. They're doing things that are exciting. They're winning games and still bowl eligible.
They're also they're a perfect they are what? I mean, they are a perfect kind of I don't even know the right term, but like they're exciting in the sense that they can put up 50 points and they can give up 50 points too.
Right.
Like we haven't seen a whole lot of that recently, but at the same time, and I know that's better for fans, but that Utah State game was incredibly exciting.
Well, I'll tell you what, I'm curious. I know a couple people in Vegas. I'm curious how many Saturdays the UNM game is on one of the sportsbook TVs in a fairly prominent place, because there is so much action on UNM games in on the field. I mean, I'm not talking betting action. I mean, there's so much action that they're going to such extremes with scoring and points and all this stuff. I really think that it's a team that probably has Vegas's attention a little bit too, because there was some money to be made this season on the Lobos, both betting on them and betting on the over before everyone else kind of caught on, and maybe the Vegas numbers caught on a little bit. This was a team that was winning some people some money if they were on board at an early stage and all this. Greg on YouTube points out, also a fun fact of the week, UNM football is the only Mountain West team with a ranked win. Is that true for the whole season?
I believe it is true. Yes.
Wow.
Boise could have done it.
That means UNM football. I don't know if that makes it necessarily the best win of the season. It probably does, right? I mean, the only ranked win.
Washington State wasn't ranked when Boise beat them.
Okay.
They were not ranked. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I'm pretty
So
sure.
at worst, is this a tie for the best win of the season for a Mountain West football team? Because it's only two weeks and 2 days into the basketball season. But Lobo basketball has the best win of the season for the Mountain West as well right now, with the UCLA win, the second best being a home win against Clemson by Boise State. So I'm curious if UNM football and UNM basketball right now have the best wins of the season for their respective sports in the Mountain West Conference. I will point out that the Lobos do have a winning record now, 3-2 against the future Pac-12.
Yes, they do.
So the dead weight that's being left behind has a winning record against the Pac-12. The 3 wins being San Diego State, Washington State, and Utah State. The 2 losses being Fresno State and who am I forgetting?
Wait, say that again?
Who are the 2 losses? The future Pac-12 losses.
Oh, Colorado State.
Colorado State
Fresno
State and Utah State.
Yeah.
I mean Fresno State. I will say Colorado State's probably still the worst game of the season for them, just because of their offense not showing up.
I think so too. As a tangent, I don't know if you watched any of it. Good Lord, Oregon State got stuffed in a body bag on Saturday. That was rough. I had that on for a while, just kind of processing that, and they are rudderless right now. That is a tough situation there. But anyways.
Sean wants to know if there's any updates on recruiting, who are targets for transferring out. Kind of hard to predict that stuff until they actually transfer out. I will tell you, in terms of basketball, there have been players for years that everyone assumes is going to transfer out. NIL's making it worth some players staying, even when you think they might leave. I don't know that applies the same to football as it does to basketball, but it's just so hard to guess sometimes. So.
My update on recruiting is that coaches are out doing it this week, and that is it. They have no listed commits anywhere right now. If they have commits, they have not been public, or I haven't seen them on social media. It has been I'll say this one thing that it's not going to be better on Blue Sky. I'll say that too. One thing that I don't like about some of the recent changes with Twitter is that it's actually kind of tougher to follow a lot of the recruiting stuff. That's kind of the way that I've done it in the past, and it's the way that's made the most sense. Just go through Twitter or X or whatever you want to call it. And some of the algorithm changes have made it tougher. And I am not terribly interested in having every single high school offer their tweet notifications on at all seconds of the day. It's just not something I really want to do. It's something I do in the transfer portal windows and all that, and I can live with it for 15 days or whatever. I don't want to do that with a ton of high school commits. It's just too much. But yeah, they have no listed commits through any of the like 24/7, any of the recruiting websites right now. When there's more, I'll find a way to get stuff out on it. Targets for transferring out, it's tough to say. It really is. Of all the guys that have big roles and all that, they seem content from when you talk to them. You don't seem like there's anything there, but you never know, right? I mean, it's interesting. And I will say, I know that people around the program were pretty surprised that Tavian Combs made the decision to kind of up and out while the season was still going on. I thought that was a possibility that he could, and I think I even noted it on the show, but I did not think it was going to happen in season. So yeah, it's kind of interesting.
Along those same lines as you were mentioning, how hard it is now to kind of follow some of the stuff on X and Twitter. Then I was talking earlier about being at UFC with all the people that were there. Doug still wants to know if I got to meet Elon. Elon kept following me around the Madison Square Garden, and I didn't have time for him. I wasn't blue skying him or anything. I just said, look, I'm working, Elon. I got stuff to do. Rich Green's telling us, did you get a number on how many Lobo fans were at the basketball game on Sunday morning? I was at the rally at Stout. It was packed. I will say this, there were 12,310 fans at Madison Square Garden for a game that was fairly well promoted and marketed in Manhattan, in downtown New York, and in the heart of the city. There were huge digital signs, father versus son. Come see the Johnnies' first game at Madison Square Garden this year. They're ranked. They're great. And they got 12,000 fans on a midday weekend game. And the Garden is great. I was so lucky to get to go there and experience it. Will love to go back there. It was fantastic. It was not as loud as the Pit. And it didn't get as many fans as some of the Pit games. So Lobo fans have a lot to be proud of, and that's why I'm still thinking Lobo football can sort of tap into that a little bit, because Lobo basketball can still hold its own and hold its head high when it comes to fan support. So it was a great experience. As far as how many Lobo fans were at the game on Sunday, if there were 12,000 people there, I would say that as many as 1,000, probably less, but probably 500 to 800 fans were from New Mexico. There were at least a dozen New Mexico flags. I know that. Sitting behind the Lobo bench was the highest concentration, but there were certainly Lobo fans throughout the arena. So I'll say probably about, let's cut it in half. I'll say 700, 750 fans were Lobo fans there. So I thought that was pretty impressive, actually, considering it's a cross country November game that really, in the grand scheme of things, didn't mean a whole lot. So Richie Flores on Richie's back, who he put it on his back, right? And then they lost, but they're still bowl eligible. Richie, you're still carrying the team possibly to a bowl game. Good to see you guys. I was able to catch the game on Saturday, and it was such a great experience, kind of echoing what some other people have already said in the show earlier. Let's see here. Jason, no, not that I've seen. I guess there's no betting line on Lobo football at Hawaii this far out. Usually comes out on the Sunday after, maybe even late Saturday night. You can start getting some lines. There are ways, some computer metrics that you could probably figure out what the line is going to be. I know what was the one that USA Today used to always have that's now behind now private, Sagarin ratings. There were ways to sort of formulate what the home field advantage was for a particular team, what the recency bias was, what one team's value compared to the other team's value were. There were these formulas you could come up with and kind of come up with what the line is going to be. I imagine it's out there. I imagine UNM going to Hawaii is going to put Hawaii as a favorite probably, but pretty close. I don't think it'll be that could be in the pick'em range, right?
Yeah.
Let's see what
I think it could be in pick'em range. I don't know. I don't really know how much Vegas kind of thinks about the Hawaii travel and all that and everything there too. Both teams are coming off a bye, I believe, heading into that game. So it shouldn't be that big of a deal.
For Hawaii this week. Okay.
Don't believe anything for Hawaii. I'll double check right now, but I don't believe anything for Hawaii. Yeah, I think that's probably fair. I would have a hard time even now seeing UNM as anything more than like a 3-point favorite
at the most. Yeah, the field goal at the most. Some more Devin love here. We got Dampier, reminds me a lot of Kyler Murray from Rich Green on X.
That is Devin's favorite quarterback, by the way.
Is it?
Yeah, because Devin is an Arizona guy. He is not a Cardinals fan, he has told me, but he's a big Kyler Murray fan. Whenever he plays Madden, Kyler Murray is his guy.
Jason also has a comment on Devin. Dampier is easily the best dual threat quarterback in the Mountain West. I would agree with that for sure. And I'll reiterate, I think he's the best overall quarterback in the Mountain West as well. Hopefully this is from Rob. Hopefully all the recognition he's getting nationally shows Devin that he can get the looks here versus learning in the new system and new school and all that good stuff. I think that's partly true too. I'll say this, and it kind of comes down to sort of where we are in college athletics. The earning window for a lot of these guys, Devin probably being one of them, is right now, and it's very small. Does not include an NFL window probably for a lot of these guys. If you can make a significant amount more money somewhere else, I certainly wouldn't blame him for trying that. But the memories he's making and all that corny stuff, like, it's legit, man. He's doing things here that it's going to be hard to replicate somewhere else when you have a whole system sort of catered around you and built around you the way this one really has been. So this is Jimmy H from earlier, actually kind of agreeing to what I just said too. Jimmy H on YouTube saying, I agree, Geoff. Honestly, I believe he loves it here. I think that's true. If Devin does leave, I don't think it's going to be really what could we have done? What could UNM have done? What could Bronco and the staff have done better to keep him here? If he leaves, it's going to be, as much as you hate hearing it for college athletics, it's going to be a business decision if he leaves. It's not going to be anything personal.
I will also add too, and this is a question that I need to ask Bronco probably this next week. You do hear a lot of coaches these days who kind of get up on the podium and they use their part of media availability to say, you guys gotta hit this collective. We need these guys here, man. If you want to keep seeing wins like this, you got to do that. And that is just not something Bronco has even remotely done. And I'm not saying that he is, oblivious or doesn't like NIL. He very clearly understands NIL, and he came into this job with his claim that he did a lot of research on what a.
I'll tell you, if anything, he has more of a specific idea of NIL and had some specific ideas of what this program needed in NIL. I haven't heard more coaches or many coaches get as specific as he has with what he knows and wants out of NIL.
Exactly. And, he's made it very clear that he did a lot of research on what a high-functioning G5 collective would look like and how that could play out. And certainly a part of his kind of calculation in terms of the job and all that as well, too. So he's not oblivious or ignoring NIL by any stretch. And I think there's a couple coaches out there that might be doing that on some levels. So I do think it is interesting, though, that there has not been that kind of public push. And that's not just even successful teams, too. We've seen, non-successful teams say, hey, if you want us to be better, we need money to keep these guys. And I don't know. I think that is an interesting thing. And I do need to ask him about that at some point.
Mark Morris telling us UNM has a path to the playoff.
Not this year.
He did follow it up with
next there we go.
Sure, they have a path to the playoff. I mean,
because everybody is supposed to, right? Like that's why we expanded the playoff.
If you go into next year, if the Lobos go into next year with the best quarterback in the league, which I believe they already have, and some pieces, you got Luke Weissong with another year. You add some pieces. They're not going to be picked 11th out of 12th next year. I don't think they'll be picked to win the Mountain West by any stretch of the imagination. But, I mean, could you see UNM contending for a Mountain West championship in the next year or two if pieces stay together and fall in place?
A thought that I've had for a little bit now is that beyond this year, for as long as you have Devin Dampier, you have a shot to win the Mountain West championship. Beyond this year. That is a thought that I've had. And because when you have the quarterback, so you can just build so many other things around it. What I will say about 2025 is that we don't have the Mountain West schedule and all that too. And it feels very silly to even discuss the playoff and all that and possibilities at this point. They do have two opportunities to kind of grab a marquee win that would really put them on the map, right? Because that's really what you kind of need. More or less, although actually no. I mean, Army has a chance this weekend if they beat Notre Dame. That's that's a playoff deciding game. Boise. I mean, they played Oregon. They played Oregon really tight and played them really well, and that's not really a marquee win, but a marquee performance. They do play at Michigan on August 30th, and at UCLA on September 13th. I think if you grab one of those somehow, I'm not saying I expect them to do that. I think UCLA is going to be better this next year. I think Michigan should end up being better than they are. Well, we'll see, but should end up being better than they were this year. If you found a way to get one of those, and you basically just ran the table to the Mountain West Championship and you won the Mountain West Championship, you probably should be in a pretty good spot. But that's way easier said than done. And I think the Mountain West slate next year will be harder for them. They're still going to have to deal with Boise, I believe. They should be in the rotation to get that. And there's no gimmies in the Mountain West at this point. So I don't know. We'll see. But I think they have a path to the playoff in the way that kind of everybody does. But they have the quarterback to kind of make that a real discussion at this point.
We got Valerie talking about showing up to the games. I made it to town, no excuse. Assuming this is Valerie, what I think it is. She is of the New Mexico state flag at every sporting event and waving the Lobo flag and that kind of stuff. But yeah, I mean, there's no reason not to get to a game. If you want to get to a game, you can get to a game. So I don't think excuses are really in play anymore. It's just people, for whatever reason, just aren't going at this point. Jason does point out to that same topic, though, early season UNM home games that aren't versus NMSU are a little tougher to sell because of the heat. So
I don't totally. I think the Montana State game, sure, because that was a 2:30 kick and all that. But like in my time that I've been here, and I've only been here 2 years and all that, a lot of the early season games have been like a 5:30, 6:30 kick. And I know it's still hot, but it's not like you're, in the absolute thick of it in the way. So I don't know if that's been more of a thing in the past, but it probably has been, honestly, with some TV stuff for sure. But I don't know. I mean, I'm not sure.
Adam's inviting anybody who wants to come hang out with his friends or with his family at the games. Come on. The Lopez family is inviting all comers to the next Lobo football game, which won't be till next year now. But or it could be, I don't know, I guess there's a chance there could be another Lobo football game in Albuquerque this season. They got to win at Hawaii first, and I guarantee you if that happens, Geoff Symbieta is going to do everything he can to get him in the New Mexico Bowl. But we shall see. I'd say if they get over the line and get to a bowl, attendance will increase. I don't disagree. I mean, I think we're on the same page there. I kind of thought it would have already increased some already because of them winning some games and having some momentum and still being bowl eligible. But yeah, it hasn't shown up yet. Speed of social media.
I think this was us talking about the watching a game at home and that kind of experience and all that. How it's just probably a better experience than going to a lot of stadiums at this point.
Yeah. Jason adding to the marketing conversation that he agrees on marketing historically. I can't recall many commercials or promotions. I've thought for a while, been a off-season Albuquerque Isotopes reporter, I suppose. They don't get much traction in print or on TV. They don't get a lot of attention and eyeballs that way, but they still lead the Pacific Coast League in attendance not every year, but they have the last 2 years. And they haven't had a winning season in over a decade, the Isotopes. And yet, relative to what AAA baseball around the country is doing, they get fans to games, and they do it because of promotions. So yeah, there's an avenue there too where promotions, in-game promotions, bobbleheads, stuff like that could probably help out a little bit more for Lobo football games. And you got to make it an event. That's what they do at Isotopes games. The UNM knows all this though. The big thing there is it can't cost UNM more money to buy bobbleheads and towels to wave and stuff like that. What they have to do is get willing partners, willing marketing partners and companies and businesses. That's what the Isotopes do. When you see a bobblehead at an Isotopes game, it's brought to you by Pepsi, one of their big sponsors. It's brought to you by so-and-so. They pay for all the bobbleheads. They get their little logo on every bobblehead, and they get named in every promotion. UNM probably has to do some of that because UNM can't afford to buy the products themselves and then just ask everyone to come in and think they're going to recoup the money. That's not really how it's going to work. So hopefully some more corporate sponsorship and marketing partners will step up and get some Devin Dampier bobbleheads next year that can go to the NIL or something like that. So Isaiah's asking, why do people come out for basketball season? I feel they don't have a problem filling up the pit. Well, success. I mean, they ranked in the top 25 in average home attendance in the country for the first 50 years that the pit was open, since 1966 through 2016. So there's a history of success there, and there's not a history of success at football. And I think that's the bottom line, is long-standing success for one, long-standing not success for the other. Another one from Jason, early season losses. Yeah, as you mentioned, Sean, losses like Montana State make it tough to market the program in season. I would agree.
Well, yeah. When I talked about how there hasn't been much to market, I think that was more like the 2-10 seasons, the 3-9 seasons of the past, and all that. I do think, Jason, I'm not like disagreeing. I do think like when you do kind of come out with that after kind of ramping it all up, it does make it difficult to keep marketing it to a certain degree. But I was kind of more referencing just kind of the miserable, tepid seasons of the past, where it's like, okay, nobody cares.
Boils down to consistency. Kind of what you're saying there is like consistent winners will start building up consistently. You don't get them back in one game or one season, as we're seeing.
Yep.
You got to build them back. So we'll see what this season builds towards next year. Eric on YouTube saying the fans will be back as the team gets good, gets wins, and becomes more disciplined. I can't attend or I can't stand all the penalties. I won't pay to see that. The fans here were, the fans were here with Francione and Rocky's teams. Without disagreeing with you, you have your opinions and your reasons. I don't think penalties are swaying too many people. Maybe they're swaying you. I don't think their penalties are why people are saying I'm not going to the game. If they're putting up 50 points and having a lot of penalties, I don't think at the end of the day you're saying I'm not coming to another game as long as they're getting that many penalties. You're probably excited by what you saw on the offense and all that kind of stuff. Now, it's not to say you can't be frustrated by it. Also, during the Francione and Rocky Long era, the pricing was so much different then because the arms race in college football hadn't really started back then. You weren't trying to make millions and millions and millions just to keep up. You were just trying to get some fans out to the games, and UNM spent this much money on athletics and got this much from the state, got this much from the school and student fees. Now it's an arms race that you have to charge enough money to make some money. If you look at the ticket prices during those two eras compared to today, it's much different, and with good reason. Along the prices, Doug still points out $7 pretzels, $15 beers, they add up fast in addition to ticket prices, but it's true of all stadiums, and that's not wrong. They are filling up 100,000 people at some big time stadiums in the Midwest and in the Southeast Conference and all that kind of stuff, right? So fans are willing to go and spend a lot of money, but you probably do need a little more consistency than what UNM is showing right now if you're going to go basically spend a couple $100 one weekend for one game. Let's scroll through some of these real quick too. We've been on an hour and we got a lot of you guys still commenting. Thank you guys. Jason Brooks, fan photos and videos weren't allowed at spring practice.
They were not allowed at the spring game unless you were a member of the Savannah Bananas crew taking or what do they call them? The hooligans, like the other whatever they are.
Well, that was the same. Yeah, Savannah Bananas were in town and all that kind of stuff. And they took some pictures and stuff because they were showing them at their event later or something.
You were allowed to take them during warmups, but not during the actual game, which is not a crazy new thing. I mean, I know some programs have kind of done that in the past. I think New Mexico, I don't remember for sure. I think New Mexico State actually did basically the exact same thing this year. But yeah, it's just kind of a little bit of a, all right, whatever. I don't know if it's that big of an inconvenience to fans. It's an inconvenience to us for sure.
Still, I want to go back to your comment real quick. $7 pretzels, $15 beers add up fast. I don't disagree. They do. In fairness and in full context and all that good stuff, there is a value menu that they've offered at UNM football games this year, $5 menu for soda, hot dog, and popcorn, that kind of stuff. Do they need to expand that? Maybe, but they are trying to offer a little bit more in terms of making it affordable for a family to go, right? So that's where we're at with that. $15 beers do add up fast. I would agree. UNM could work with large employers in the metro area. I'd like to do a payroll deduction for season tickets. That's probably true. Another thing they can look at. It's not that they don't go to a lot of industry conferences and kind of market. They know what the best practices are and stuff like that. So they know a lot of the ideas to try. Why some of them don't work here and why they won't try some of them maybe to see if they work here. I don't know those answers. But they're aware of a lot of ideas they could try probably. I think that's fair to say. The Utah State game made me believe in Bronco in this program. There's a lot of points, and Sean's gonna good luck, Sean. You're gonna have a hard time kind of at the end of the year sort of recapping it, right? At what point was it that you bought in? What was it even at 0-4 when I was even at 0-4, I was bought in. Like I kept saying, like, I get that they're 0-4, but man, you could just see this team's a lot better than they were. And
while they're giving up 1 million yards per game,
they were giving up
1 million points, like 5+ first downs per game. Like these are the real numbers. Like I'm not even making these up. Like they were giving up so much. And I went back and looked at it yesterday. Yeah, I think Sean, a lot of people feel similarly. I mean, and I think it was not just the way they won, but certainly the fact that Bronco was so emotional after. I know the clip that I put out there of him, tearing up. I mean, that got a ton of traction on my end. I know people, reposting the video of him on the broadcast, kind of tearing up, talking to Bridget Howard and all that. I mean, that seemed like it could be a bit of a turning point in some ways, and then they, lost 2 straight after that and bounced back now.
Don't discount the value of Frank Mercogliano's salsa dancing either.
Yes.
That could have been the turning point for some people, and maybe the reason some people didn't come out to future Lobo games, or maybe the reason some people did. I'm not entirely sure. But look, there's a lot of points throughout the season, though, that you can point to as when you bought it. Maybe it was just this past Saturday. Maybe it finally took that, beating a ranked team, because you could put question marks on all their other wins, right? Like, okay, who did they really beat? How good was that team? Have they beat anybody yet? That one kind of got thrown out the window this past weekend. So, they've beat good teams now. They've beat a lot of teams now. They're at 5 wins. They've done a lot of things. So, all right, here we go. Where are we at? Payroll deductions. Got another one here. Doug's still pointing out the payroll deduction for basketball and football. I'm guessing a lot more staff would buy tickets. That would be interesting. Even if it's just at UNM. I don't know what the setup is for employees. I know they get a discount, but maybe if they just took a little bit out of every paycheck, even if it's throughout the year, the whole year maybe, rather than just during the season, so it didn't hit them as hard per paycheck. I don't know what the setup is there. That's an interesting option, obviously, other than his comments on Devin standout. Any standout moments from the press conference, Sean?
Yeah, I think, and I was going to try and address this just in the point we were talking about earlier before we got back into kind of talking about tickets and all that too. I did ask him, it's not something that he outright said, but he kind of alluded to it on Saturday. I did just ask him straight up, did you feel that Saturday was kind of a turning point for the program? And he said, I wouldn't call it a turning point, but yes, I mean, it was hugely significant. And it's something that I'm going to remember the rest of my life. And it's something I think everybody involved will remember the rest of their lives. And he basically ended up saying, like, you just can't really put a term or a cost on that or anything like that. It's just huge. One thing that stood out to me a lot in the immediate post-game messaging, and I wish I would have pressed further on it then. I ended up pressing forward on Monday, was kind of the messaging and how Bronco talked about how they wanted to defend Washington State. It was a question I had. It was actually something I wanted to write about more last week, heading into the game, and kind of got shut down in some ways. But what Bronco said after the Washington State game is that they wanted to they needed to weather the storm in the sense that, Washington State was probably going to get theirs in the early going while they adjusted and figured things out. And that's exactly how it played out in the end. It went down to a close game, and UNM ended up winning. And I asked Bronco if that's something that, had that been a consistent point of messaging all year with this defense? And he said no. And he compared it to, playing, Boise State era, Chris Peterson era Boise State, and how they try to take you out of the game before it was even the second quarter of a lot of stuff they did offensively. And he said Washington State wasn't quite of that caliber, but they had a similar approach in his evaluation. And that's what kind of led to the approach. And I thought it was a pretty unique bit of kind of game planning and coaching and mentality and all that. And now
Amelia says she's going to go do the Arthur puzzle now.
Nice.
You want to tell them? You want to say hi to everybody?
Hi.
She's homesick today. Are you still sick?
Yes.
Yes? I thought you said you felt better.
Only my tummy.
Oh, your tummy feels better? Yes. All right. She's going to go do the Arthur puzzle. Bye, everybody.
Bye, Daddy. Bye, Daddy.
Bye. All right. Back to work. Hawaii -2 is logical. I think that's about right, Sean.
Yeah.
Sounds about right. I think it'll be somewhere in the, I'll give it a big 6-point window, but 3 points either way. I think it could be. Some people could be bought in to UNM enough momentum wise right now that maybe they go that way, but I don't know. Who's gone next year from the receiving core, if anyone? As good as Devin is, those guys have at times been remarkable. I don't disagree at all. Like, depending on obviously Luke Weissong's been great, but Ryan's had some great moments. Caleb has come on strong after we thought maybe he'd be stronger earlier in the year. I think Caleb's come on at times late. So, yeah, who do we know is gone from the receiving corps?
Don't believe anybody's gone. I don't believe anybody's gone. I thought that this was Ryan Davis's last year of eligibility. As late as this last show, I talked about him in the sense that I believed he was, and ended up getting the seniors list and ended up kind of diving into some guys. And he's got another year of eligibility for sure, and expecting him to return. So I think it's big in the sense that you're going to have more continuity if you keep Devin. Guys are going to develop, or at least you hope they develop. You're going to have next year you should have a season of Nick Trujillo, who has finally played some college football and gotten into the rhythm there. And you'll have a coaching staff that'll know how to kind of handle some things in terms of guys getting settled in and all that as well too. I do think they're going to keep looking at certain guys in the portal, and they're going to keep recruiting that position as well. And you can say that about every single position because they want it to be a developmental program. But yeah, I mean, they came into spring ball with Isaiah Jones from Syracuse, who was going to be another kind of X receiver type. And then he ended up just leaving the program. And it's not something I've got an answer on. I do think they were kind of planning on him having a little bit more of a role. You could say that this receiving core was kind of down one guy for most of the season in terms of the plan that they had. But plans change, and I think they could certainly stand to get another guy of that caliber in the room and all that. But yes, I mean, Weissong has been sensational, obviously. RD has been really, really good. The X receiver spot, I've kind of voiced my occasional concerns with it and all that too. But certainly, I mean, Caleb has put it in a position where it's starting to come on better.
Valerie, it is me. That is the Valerie I thought it was, with the famous waving of the New Mexico flag and the UNM Lobo flag and the New Mexico flag at college game days for years now. She's been doing a lot of marketing herself of UNM athletics. We got a thank you in there. We got the Goldilocks factor again, talking about fans. I went in early to get off at 7:30 to make the game, so they're definitely bringing in people. Richie talking about getting to the game. What do we got here? Heat. It was 108 degrees at College Station last year, and they had 95,000, including me. Talking again about fans and all that good stuff. So yeah,
that game was so hot. That was unbelievable. I sweat through my button up. That was nuts, dude. Crazy.
You did what?
I sweat through my button up.
Button up. Okay.
I looked like Sean Miller. That pic of him, like, what were they playing, Buffalo in the NCAA tournament or something like that?
I get it. Yeah, I didn't know button up was what you said.
Oh, okay. All right. No, button up. Yes.
Those bobblehead lines before the game test your will of patience, man. I'll tell you what. Some of those bobblehead lines for some of those Isotopes promotions, or they have the jersey promotions at Isotopes games. There are people that start showing up at 6 or 7 a.m. for a 7 p.m. start or a 6 p.m. start. Insanity. I couldn't do it. I don't care how good the bobblehead is. The lowrider bobblehead's pretty cool. The mariachi lowrider, all that good stuff. So UNM football wasn't on TV as much during the Franchione and Rocky Long eras, which is another very good point. If you wanted to see UNM football, you had to go to University Stadium, which could be a reason why attendance is down. Absolutely, Ben. Correct. Again, to be the Debbie Downer, I don't like going to live football as much as I like watching it on TV myself, and I think a lot of people are there with you, which is sort of why these TV multimedia rights packages for conferences have become so important and so vital, and you do have to chase those being really getting your school a lot of money, right? Say you can make $1 million on a so-so TV package, or you can make 3, 5, 8 million, or what the power conferences are making, like 20-30 million dollars a year on their TV deal. You have to chase the money there, because if they're putting you on at 7:30, 8:30, 9 at night sometimes, and the tip times and the kickoff times are awful, and fans want to complain about all that, and they're not going for this reason or that, you have to chase the money somewhere. So look, attendance isn't great except at the really power conference, the power league programs and all that. So That's why these TV deals and college and conference realignment have been so prevalent lately, is because the TV money is insane, because there are a lot of people that like watching college football on TV. You guys are still bringing them in, so I'll still post a bunch of these as I can. UNM used to have food drives for tickets, canned food, etc. Also got out to APS schools and gave YAFL players and families free entry, fill the seats any way possible, give them away. Yes and no to this. I've wondered in the past why they didn't give more tickets away. Just to make it look good, right? They're not making money that way, and they have to put a value on the ticket. If they give 5,000 tickets away to every game to make the stands look a little bit better, then the season ticket holder is going to be like, well, why would I spend this much money for 6 games when they're giving away 5,000 a game? I can get a free ticket for any game I want to go to. So you got to put a certain value on it at some point. I will say this: one of the best things sporting or athletic departments and companies can do along those lines is to give the kids free tickets, not the parents. If you want the kids there, or you got the kids performing at halftime, their parents have to go buy a ticket to watch them. May not sound, oh, that's awful. Why would you do that? You can't give away every ticket. So I do think there are some schools that will have 100 kids perform at halftime doing dribbling at a basketball game or hula hooping or whatever. And then all their parents and aunts and uncles that want to see them perform have to go buy tickets. That's one way that you can get a lot of people at a game, but you can't just give the tickets away to that much, because you then devalue the people who are paying for the tickets, who will just find ways then to get that many free tickets. So TNT is a strong UNM partner. Salsa dancing is fire. I don't disagree. I've enjoyed it. I think TNT's had a good year of college football coverage. Good point, Ben. That's the TV wasn't as prevalent back in the Franchoni and Rocky Long eras. Tiki Taki Taco says, I'm 22 minutes behind, so forgive me, but I've seen one junior college D line commit on X. Is that about it in terms of commits?
I haven't even seen this one, honestly. And Tiki Taki Taco, I give credit to you. I even remember last year in terms of when we were going for the initial winter portal wave and all that. You were pretty on top of a lot of this stuff. Keener eyes than me, at least right now. So I will try and dig that up. But I mean, frankly, I've seen a lot of offers, and I've bookmarked a lot of tweets, and I've followed a lot of kids, and I have not seen a ton of followed a lot of kids on X. That's I want to clarify there. But
and that the offers, they don't just come. They got to be earned. They're not just given. UNM staff discounts are only on season tickets for football. Doug still points out. Jeff's next star. Yeah, my 5-year-old. A lot of my older daughter, who has beat me for years at picking games in college basketball season. That was the 5-year-old who is homesick. So she probably wasn't as talkative and loud as she, believe me, normally is. Jeff's screen just got 200% cuter. I assume this was when my daughter was there and not when I just, fixed the hair or anything like that. So appreciate that. Great cameo. Hawaii lost big to common opponents. That's right. They
got thrashed by Utah State. They got absolutely demolished. And I haven't seen a second of that game. I'm curious what happened. So
albeit you were on the road, but you're right, Rich. If you want to look at common opponents, which I always say, don't look at common opponents. Don't read too much into it, and then I'll break down what the common opponents were like. You're right. And he corrects himself. All 3 were on the road, so I didn't realize that. Adam, any words on how many recruits were at the game? I know a few of the families were sitting near me. I don't know.
I do know that I couldn't tell you this game, but there has been, obviously steady recruit presence at each game. I do know that there's going to be a big official visit this week. That's something that Bronco told us yesterday. So that's also kind of a thing going on with recruiting right now.
We have a post on YouTube from Ben, and then a quick correction. I'm going to actually show the correction first.
Yeah,
he's talking about Baraka in this next one, not McKenzie. So his comment is, besides Baraka, there's a chance we return every 2 deep on offense in a perfect non-NIL world. There will be some people that leave, but there is a chance that the entire 2 deep returns. That's pretty crazy for an offense that has not been a problem this year.
One thing too that I need to get an answer on this. I keep saying this throughout the show, but Isaiah Silliman was honored on senior night, but I never realized that I always thought he was a redshirt junior, and he had another year of eligibility. And to my understanding, he does. So yeah, I mean, he's one of those guys that can definitely return. And he's been a huge part of this offense. Although he's not racking up like gaudy regular tight end stats in his kind of, rhino role and all that too. But yeah, no, 100%. The fact that they could have that level of offensive continuity in this era in particular, they're in that position. Yeah, that 100%. That's something that should be a little worrisome for other teams in the conference and other teams in the schedule heading next year.
Eric, you're absolutely right. For everyone in a seat, that's parking, concessions, et cetera, money. No seats, no money. You're right. If they're not at the game, they're making no money. If they're at the game, they have a chance to make some money. So you're not wrong there. I do think that there is a formula. There's a happy medium. I don't think you can give the product away. I think giving too many tickets away does devalue the season ticket option. I have had season ticket holders write to the Journal in the past when they were doing too many tickets, when the attendance started going down for basketball in the past decade, and they started doing these flash sales and, hey, buy the next 2 tickets for $5 or for whatever price. Season ticket holders started writing saying, well, why am I spending this much money when I could have gotten basically the same seats all year for this much less had I just bought all these flash sales and stuff like that. You have to, at some point, put a value on the ticket and hold strong to that. Now, you sell it over that value and you can drop the price down to this, but there has to be a bottom at some point for the value of the ticket, just for the entire experience. How many people you're paying to work there, how much money you're getting in and this and that. But you're not wrong. You're not making $1 if you don't get a fan there at all. You're making at least some dollars if you at least get them in the seats, right? And they might go buy a hot dog, might pay for parking and all that kind of stuff. So there's a happy medium to be found there. So we'll see. Tiki Taki Taco, he's got you, Sean. He'll at you.
We got it. Let me announce it right now. Breaking news from November 6th. Solo Langi, I believe that is how you pronounce it. He is a 6 foot, 290-pound defensive tackle from Snow College, which is Utah. A lot of guys on staff that have connections there. Snow College is in Utah. Said, after talking to God and my family, I'm excited to say I'm 100% committed to the University of New Mexico. So I'll do some more looking around. But this is, in fact, that is the recruit.
All the coaches are out recruiting, right?
Most of the coaches, yes. I don't think the coordinators are. I'm pretty sure the coordinators aren't. But this is similar to the last bye week where pretty much
they're probably coordinating where everyone goes.
Yes, that's
big props to the defense. Absolutely right. I mean, we haven't talked a whole lot about just
huge props. It wasn't that long ago that we were sitting on a live show after the Wyoming game and we were getting questions. Is it a talent problem in the secondary? Is it a scheme problem? Like, what is it in particular? And they played even missing really key guys, a lot of starters. Well, not a lot, but a couple starters. They got it done for sure against Washington State. It was pretty.
It might have been a me problem. I might have just been.
It might have been you. It might have been you.
Another one from Eric. Yeah, we need to fill the seats and find that happy medium. Thanks for another great show, guys. Good job, gentlemen. We really appreciate all you do for the Team City with your coverage. Talk to you later. Thank you, Eric, for being a part of this show. Thank you all for being a part of this show.
Everybody producing our show for us. This is phenomenal.
Yeah, we did now in 20, and very little of it was just us actually having original thought. Just us kind of regurgitating your guys' comments. Wouldn't have expected this if you told me that earlier in the season. Just what's going on in general, I assume is what you mean, Adam. I don't think anybody would have. I do. We could revisit the win-loss total at some point, but let's just remind everybody it opened. It opened at 1.5 wins.
1.5.
It did bump up to 2.5 at most places before the season started. But this was a team that the Vegas experts and the computers. Good point. Adam says to the defense getting stops. That's
the pinnacle of that too. And Adam, I don't know if you watched like the post game press conference.
Not expected. Yeah.
I don't know if you watched like the post game press conference or anything like that too. But like truly, like, and we talked to we didn't even have a show after San Diego State, so we haven't talked about it in the live. But like the fact that Drew Speech was a guy making some key plays down the stretch to like kind of help really bring that defense on. Like, that's insane. It's something that even Bronco was kind of chuckling about in the post-game press conference. Like, yes, like if you would have told me that coming into this game, he would have made the plays that he made. Yeah, that's just crazy. So unique piece of, mentality and game planning from UNM staff, and the defense ended up delivering. So and it gave him a kind of an all-time moment that they'll never forget.
I'm a believer in belief, man. Like they started to believe a little bit, and this team isn't any better or more talented than it was 2 months ago. And when they started 0-4, they're the same kids, the same people, same players. They're just buying in a little more. They're practicing with purpose and all that good stuff, all the good coach speech stuff. Greg Lujan's pointing out, shout out to the UNM cross country team.
Yes.
Good luck at the NCAA championship. The men are nationally ranked number 3. The women, I believe, are 10. Both have an outside shot of being a top 3 kind of program, but the men have a chance of winning a national championship. You also have a legitimate chance of 2 individual national champions. I won't call it, but there's a male runner and a female runner for the UNM Lobos who have a chance this weekend to be national champions individually. You have a little bit better chance for the men to win a team title, and then obviously I forget her name. Let me pull it up because she deserves me to not just not name her. But yeah, Hampton Samuel on the men's side of
talking about Pamela.
On the women's side, the girl who has not yet lost. What is her name?
Are you talking about Pamela?
Could be. I'm pulling it up right. Yeah, Pamela Koski. Is it Kosgi? Yeah, Koski. But yeah, she's a freshman, has not yet lost. And then of course on the men's side, Hampton Samuel did everything he did last year and has a chance to be a national champion this year. Cross country didn't take as long to sort of get back on the map as maybe some of us thought it might when Joe Franklin left. So here we are. Yes, shout out to them. Good luck to them. Okay, we're going to wrap up. How many reporters are usually in the room asking questions after the game? Has it increased throughout the season, or has it stayed the same reporters showing up? Sean, for football, what is that like? I mean, on the road, it's just the Journal, essentially.
On the road, it's just me, and it's just me and a member of UNM's comm staff, and that's it. So it's just a one-on-one at that point. It hasn't varied a ton. It usually is. It's me, somebody from the Daily Lobo, UNM student paper. Usually Rick Wright, also the Journal. So we're running 2 deep there. KRQE, somebody from them. KOAT, not always, but I think they've been there mostly. And then I haven't seen KOB doesn't have like somebody in kind of Lauren's old role at this point. So basically 5, 6, maybe 7. That's kind of that's usually what you're looking at. My big not gripe. This isn't with like UNM or anything like that. Like when I covered college basketball, one of the great things that they did is that they would make at least in the Big Ten, they would make the head coach. They would make both head coaches available almost always, which is something I loved. So you would get Matt Painter, and then Izzo would come in, and you get Chris Collins, and then Izzo would come in. And that's not something that they do in football, and I get why they don't. It's just something that I wish would happen, and I think it would just be easier to kind of ask guys like Jake Dicker questions or Jay Norvell and all that. But yeah, so it's usually about 7 or so.
Yeah, same for hoops. It's usually the same group. There's I wish you could get the both coaches every time. Usually the road coach is trying to get out of there really quick. For some reason, it's like a sprint to get out of town for the road team after college athletics games. I don't know why they want to be into their plane by 45 minutes instead of like 1 hour, but they get out of there so quick. Adam Lopez, 2 big weekends in Lobo athletics with no post-game show. I didn't know what to do after the games. I'm going to go ahead and blame Sean for that, even though it's not his fault. Yes, Lucas has given us Pamela's name, Koski or Koski. But
you gotta let it go. It's just let it go.
Richie, thanks for the info. Says thanks for the info. I always wondered that because sometimes the pauses in the videos are excruciating sometimes. Haha.
Richie, if they're excruciating to you, they are very much excruciating to me as well. So yeah.
All right, guys. We are caught up on all the comments. Thank you guys for them. There was the most we've ever had for especially a weekday show. The post game sometimes after a big win, you guys are a big part of this as well. But today was a good one. Thank you guys very much. We're gonna keep these going, obviously. As best we can. I just happened to be out of town this past weekend, so we weren't able to do a post game and weren't able to do it yesterday like normal. But yeah,
we will not have a post game after the Hawaii game, I'm assuming, because of just how, I mean, that's a 10 p.m. kick Mountain Time. I just don't think that's going to happen. But
wow.
We fired it up at like 3 a.m. and we just got going.
Sean's built different than some of us. I mean, hey, look, I was all for it, but hey, whatever. Oh,
I know you just saw it. Thank you, Justin. Appreciate you. Thank you, Rich. And there it is.
If they make a bowl, great cotton candy for Sean. All right, we got the food comment in.
If they make a bowl, grape. If they win the bowl, blueberry. I think that's fair.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Greg, to your question, any idea schedule of these for basketball season? I'll tell you this: for home games, I'm going to do a pregame show. I don't. If it's a 7:00 start, I don't know for sure if I'm doing it at 5:45 or at 6. It kind of depends on. Frankly, it depends on maybe UNM whether they can get me an assistant coach before they do film at 6. So 1 hour before game time, UNM does film, and they need everybody there. I can get an assistant coach for a short time right before that, or a little bit longer right after that if it's the assistant that isn't on scout that day or isn't down on the court working with the players. So I don't know yet for sure if it's going to be an hour and 15 minutes before game time or 1 hour before game time, but I will be doing a pregame show for home games, home Lobo basketball games, the rest of the season, starting Thursday night's game. And I might as well go ahead and give it a try on some road games too. So we'll have some pregame content. As far as schedule exactly on the rest, I mean, I think we've sort of tentatively said we're going to try and keep going on Mondays when we can. And for now, I guess we'll tentatively keep going on Mondays when we can throughout the basketball season.
Yeah.
On some sort of show. But the basketball schedule is so different that it doesn't always make sense to make it a Monday. But we'll see. We're still going to have content on here, guys, for basketball for sure. Thank you, Jimmy H.
Thank you, Jimmy.
School. Big thank you guys for doing these. Love you guys. You guys rock.
School, I will be forwarding your ice cream pitch to UNM to make sure that they caught wind of
it. Keep the praise coming, guys. We love it. Or I do anyway. Makes this even bigger. So until next time, Sean, you got some stuff going this week. No podcast this week with no game, I guess.
We might have a pod. I'm not 100% sure at this point. I got to lock that in like tomorrow if we're going to get it done. But yeah, no, we will have a feature. Probably that will drop over the weekend, maybe Monday at the latest, that I've been looking forward to getting done for a while. And yeah, maybe I'll wade my way also into the is Devin Dampier the best quarterback in the Mountain West argument through a actual written story, and kind of take a look at that too.
I know someone you can quote.
This guy.
Yes.
Probably will not be quoting you. I might be quoting some other people around the team. But yeah, we'll talk to guys on Thursday. And yeah, so there'll be some content. There will be.
Greg wants one of the helmets with the retro logos. I'm assuming he's talking right here about Doug Sewell's avatar. So
they are clean. I got to give him that. They are clean.
ABQJournal.com/sports will get you all our sports coverage. James Yotis is wrapping up a tremendous fall sports season. All kinds of coverage this past weekend of some championships, and obviously high school football playoffs are going on right now, and he's just killing it. Sean's been killing it with what's turned into an exciting Lobo football season, and Lobo basketball is getting rolling. They've already, through the first 2 weeks of the season, had two of the best games the Mountain West has actually played all season until last night. San Diego State played Gonzaga. So Lobo basketball's doing fine. They're 3-1. Wasn't obviously the outcome they wanted Sunday, but to go 1-1 against ranked teams so far in the first 2 weeks of the season, and both away from the pit, good for them. And we'll be doing Lobo basketball coverage, Lobo football coverage, so there's no more to do, and a lot of combat sport coverage too from Rick Wright coming. Again, John Jones just won again, and kind of, his place in history is pretty cemented at this point, I think, as if not the best MMA art, mixed martial artist of all time. Certainly got to be one of the handful. So a lot of good stuff in Albuquerque sports going on, and in New Mexico sports. Appreciate you guys for being a part of this. Sean, anything you want to say as we sign off after an hour and 35 minutes?
Yeah, I say it all the time. I really appreciate everybody producing our show for us. It is a pleasure to do these, and it's fun to do when you have a lot to break down in the way that we have. So, yeah, looking forward to hopping on soon.
And not ending this on intentionally not trying to bring everybody down, but
yeah,
just coworkers, loved ones, everybody that means something to you guys, go give them a hug at all the corny stuff that I could say right now about, there's more important stuff than sports. This is a good diversion. I'm glad we can get together and talk about all this kind of stuff. But Albuquerque did lose a big sports fan recently. I don't know. I'm not going to say more than that right now, just because I don't know who all knows. But the Albuquerque world and the journalism world in New Mexico lost a really, really good man and a good storyteller. And
an elite storyteller.
So hopefully you guys all take the time to just appreciate the people around you. We appreciate you guys. Thank you for being here. And until next time, thanks for watching, guys.